Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, July 14th meeting of the Orono Town Council. Roll call shows we have Councilor Baker, Councilor Kenny, Councilor Demerit, Councilor Marks, Councilor Hardaway, and Councilor Larway, and Town Manager Hardison.
You looked Laraway and Hardison.
Tanya Hardison, sorry, and Town Manager Clint DeShan. Second item on our agenda is agenda review. We list here all the items that we have on our that have been referred to the various committees. A chance to remind us and the public about the things we're working on at the committee level. Are there any questions or concerns about committee items? We also do a committee report later in the meeting. Seeing none, we have no tabled items, and we also item C under agenda review is agenda review and clarifications. Anything that needs to be asked about on the agenda or potentially added to the agenda. Yep. Moving forward, we've got approval of minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes from our June 23rd meeting.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Good. All those in favor? Oh, it was 4. Yeah, no, we got one person.
I'll
wasn't here,
abstain,
right?
yeah.
So yeah. So 5, and are you gonna abstain?
Yes.
Okay. The record will show that Council Baker is abstaining. And otherwise they're adopted. Public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak with the Orono Town Council and the people of Orono about anything that's not on our agenda. Do we have any public comments tonight? Please, if you'd join us at the podium, make sure the mic's on and introduce yourself.
It's green. Good afternoon. My name is Dave Griffin. I live at 175 Bennick Road, but I'm here representing the Church of Universal Fellowship at 82 Main Street. And to make things easier for you council folks, I've got some executive summary outline notes so that you can follow along. And if I deviate from the notes I'm going to pass out to you, you can kind of get me back on track because I know we've got some time constraints. So I'll pass these out. And you can just follow along. These are the notes that I would take if I was listening to myself. When you know I'm one short, I'll be right back. We can share. Yeah. Oh, here we got some more quotes. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you folks today. I'm here, as I say, representing the Church of Universal Fellowship and to speak to you about our Save the Steeple SOS campaign that we've recently introduced. And I do have some prepared remarks to, again, stay within the 7 minutes that I have been allocated. The Church of Universal Fellowship, which we call CUF, traces its roots to the historic Universal Church constructed in 1844 at 82 Main Street. Originally founded as the Orono Universalist Church, it merged with another local congregation in December 1941 and was renamed the Church of Universal Fellowship. Over its 181-year history, CUF has undergone many renovations, updates, and repairs. Thanks to the foresight and dedication of charter members and successive generations of parishioners, the building, including its tower and steeple, have been well maintained. However, time and weather have taken a toll on the steeple, and additional repairs are now needed. So you kind of ask yourself, well, why bring this to the Orono Town Council? Our church is in an iconic part of Orono's historic gateway with traditional New England steeple visible to visitors and residents alike. We are committed to preserving this architectural and cultural landmark for future generations. And I would like to add, I was just talking to our church administrator yesterday, and she says when that clock is off by more than 10 minutes, she's getting calls to get the clock back on track. So that tells us that the citizens of Orono who are going down Main Street are aware of our steeple, aware of our clock, and they want to make it right. And how are we doing today? Are we close to? There we go. That's because of folks that maintain that clock on a regular basis.
He's got 5 minutes left, so keep track. Yeah.
The town of Orono has had a financial and historical connection to the church dating back to 1853. According to church records, in 1853, a bell and clock were installed in the belfry, partially financed by the town. The town also funded a caretaker to wind the clock for several years. In the early 1950s, repairs were needed to the steeple clock. Ownership of the clock was unclear, but town officials paid to have the clock face painted. In 1956, during Orono's 250th anniversary, both the bell and clock required repairs. The bell was repaired, and the town again covered the cost of clock repairs. Now, you probably don't remember this, but in 1850, the town of Orono used the church vestry as a location for town meetings. CUF has had a long served as a more than a place of worship. It's been a central gathering space for the community. Church has hosted concerts, celebrations, art exhibits, memorials, recitals, theater rehearsals, community meals, and provided venues for Artspalooza for 13 years back in the 2010 to 2023 timeframe, in the Orono Arts Fest the last couple of years. For 7 years, Orono High School rented CUF space for its alternative education program, providing 10 to 15 students with classroom access close to the high school. So what does CUF's anticipated steeple repairs include? CUF engaged mid-Main steeple restoration of Waterville, specialist in historical church, public, and residential restoration. Their estimation for the necessary work totals $52,400 and includes preparation, priming, and caulking of finished painting the clock faces, fabricate and install new louvers, tie down straps on all 4 rafters, remove and resheathing of all 4 steeple, spire, tower sides using cedar impression clapboards and sapele wood corners. We're also addressing concerns about the steeple's visible lean. It appears the tilting easterly, it tilts easterly toward the main building, that's toward Myrtle Street. We have engaged the University of Maine School of Engineering Technology to determine the extent of the lean and, if necessary, conduct a structural analysis and provide recommendations. The UMaine Construction and Surveying Student Club plans to begin this project in September as the new semester begins. So how has CUF been fundraising? We successfully applied for and received a $26,200 grant from the Maine Steeples Fund, which supports the preservation of historically significant church steeples across Maine. We have also formed a Save Our Steeple SOS committee with a goal to raise an additional $30,000, including 5% contingency. We've so far raised $10,500 to date from our congregation, friends, and community members. Today, we respectfully request that the town of Orono consider a $5,000 contribution to this effort, an investment in preserving one of Orono's most historic and visible buildings. Your support will help ensure that this treasured landmark continues to serve the town as a beacon of history, community, and shared experiences. And one last thing, that CUF and the town of Orono have a shared legacy. You know, you may not be aware that, but in 1963, CUF and the Orono school system helped establish the town's AFS, American Field Service chapter, enabling OHS students to study abroad and welcoming foreign exchange students into Orono. And I remember that because I remember the first student was from Italy, Guido. He became the place kicker for the Orono High School. You may remember that too, Leo. Oh, no, you're way past my time. In 1968, under the leadership of Reverend Herb Houghton, a community meeting at CUF's Parish House led to the creation of the Orono Health Association. And you all are familiar with the Orono Health Association. It was started through the collaboration of CUF and the town of Orono. And then on July 4th, 1976, CUF and St. Mary's Catholic Church hosted an inter-church bicentennial celebration on Main Street. Can you imagine this? Main Street was closed on that day. Seats were set up between the Church of Universal Fellowship and St. Mary's, and there was held a patriotic service for hundreds of folks in attendance. Then it was done by CUF, the St. Mary's Church, by the Orono Methodist Church, and by the Wilson Center. So thanks for your time. On behalf of the CUF SOS Save Our Steeple Committee, we appreciate your service as town council members and your consideration.
Thank you, David.
Thank
We
you.
typically don't have a discussion as part of a public hearing, a public comment section, but we'll talk about it in our agenda meeting and talk with other councilors about having a conversation about the request. So thank you for coming in. Is there any public comment online, Cody? Yep. We'll now move to presentations and discussion items. Number 5A, reserves planning. Turn it over to the town manager, I think, first. Is that how we'll start?
Yep. So council asked for this as we came through the capital plan and the budget process. Prepared a lot of information on the input you had provided. Also gave an opportunity for staff to look at this. I'm skipping the first document, the attachment. Appendix C is what was approved in the budget and where the money's going. I did pull the reserve balances and encumbrances from March. We have not updated that. We're busy with the year-end close and the audit, so we're not going to do this twice. We want to finish that through that process, and is being done as we speak. But they're fairly accurate. Just in some of the carryovers and some of the funds from prior year are there as an encumbrance, not as the actual balance, because they've been moved, but they are listed. We also showed the reserve fund definitions that we started to do, so you know why and how staff's using those, or that we think you intend those to be used. And then lastly, the Public Works Department provided a proposed priority paving plan for the year that works into the first memo. So if you read the capital memo, and again, the council didn't ask, but there were some changes staff had identified anyway. And in the feedback you gave, there is a 2-page memo from me to the council and the staff. We looked at the entire Appendix C. The information from you and talking to the departments, we had none either. Administration, fire, police, WPCF are not proposing anything, nor did we hear any comments that there was areas that we should look at. Based upon the areas to look at, the excavator, we are recommending a delay. That's 1A in step 2. And then number 2, that was the half-ton that was there, that was included, and I have additional details on that, including vehicle number, photos, mileage, etc. But that is that is the first vehicle. Second truck that was brought forward is to get that purchase completed this year rather than delaying. Same with number 4. It is a vehicle to purchase. There was some confusion at one point about whether we were replacing, we were going up from a half-ton to a 3/4 ton. That was a miscommunication from me, from Public Works to me, and how I presented it. It is a 3/4 ton. Somewhere along the process, Public Works shrunk it to a half-ton. I have met with the managers there. They do not want that shrunk from the 3/4 ton to a half-ton. It needs to remain a 3/4 ton, and that is number 3. Right? Yep. And then the next one was to continue leaving the facilities truck monies as well. There are other truck needs. Again, at least 8 vehicles that we purchased that aren't part of the hand-me-down process from police. But overall, we're suggesting not doing the excavator, utilize 95,000 towards the vehicles. That would leave 105,000 in future growth and future needs for the department. And I'm just going to go through the rest of this and then kick it over to the council. Step 3 in the road work, staff did go through that as well. There's 130,000 in there for traffic lights. There was 133.5 for Taylor Road, possible paving, but base preservation, there was $250,000 towards Sailor Development Area and Overlay. The Margin Street, which was considered phase one, was 110,000. That would lead to road work and paving. That had been presented as a complete package, and I decided to break it up. Staff's recommendation now is to set aside 250 for Margin Street more. This would be implemented for the spring of 26, along with the other projects that were listed in the memo from Public Works. Put Taylor Road and Sailor on temporary hold. Place the money in the reserves. That would leave 243,500 for the team to work with a new director. Look at all the updated reports. We're also doing a pavement grading report this summer with an outside consultant, and then that could be updated from there. The recommended work for next year is 222,000. So again, that's where the staff's going, but I want the new Public Works Director to look at that as well. But it would be our intention that that list that they proposed would be the intention going into next year with the new director. And then step 4, there are 2 things that haven't been identified, but projects that came up during the budget process. One is the bond advisor cost. We need 29,560. That can be wrapped into the bond closing, or we could set aside funds so that it's not. And then the other is $500,000 for 56 Main Street. That project is all over what we could do, but I do have a report from facilities that will do some things to sustain the building and get it set up so that it's usable. Bathroom on the main floor, fixing windows, fixing roof. And they're right around $500,000. And I'd like to formalize that plan, but it's hard to formalize a plan when we have no funding. So that was the step 4, is we're bringing these forward to you and the uses. It was asked at one point, and I did not include, I don't think, in the packet, but it is on the website. If you go to our audit reports where it talks about our balances of unassigned fund balance, that's come up a few times. I'm not 100% certain you wanted to discuss that in detail here. I am working with Finance Committee on some policies. I think it's their intention to come back with a recommendation for the council on those balances. And that's the report, but I know you wanted to have a lot of conversations about what we're doing and why, and I did get a few questions. I think it's easier. I am prepared to answer all the questions that I was provided, but I thought maybe it'd be better if you brought them forward as you think is appropriate as we go through the discussion.
Okay, and thank you for that. So in terms of the discussion for today, what's the goal? Is this what's the goal here for, I don't know, the Finance Committee wants to lead the conversation, or what you want to, or just to talk through these as it is and ask questions, or?
I wasn't at the last Finance Committee meeting, so my first question is what the
Okay,
purpose of this is. So
Yeah,
I
what is
think
the-
I should be leading any.
ultimately, what's the, we know we talked about doing this after the budget, so is there a specific?
So it was my request.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my request was to be able to look at and hear, and I think to some degree hear what we just heard. And obviously during the budget, I appreciate that staff has gone through and done this. This does kind of mirror some of my requests during the budget process. So I appreciate that we are agreeing to put some things on hold. I was hoping to have done that and not charge and been able to save on taxes. The funds are there. I also agree that, or I also think that we need to be building up our funds because we depleted them last year. So, my thought was that we should go through these, and I'll start if we like, because I had sent my requests. I don't have any questions.
I do, so that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, Leo. I just wanted to know, like, before we delve into like suggestions of how to maybe change this, could we just ask clarifying questions first? Because I have some just clarifying questions
Sure.
for Clint. I don't know if
do
anyone
that.
else does, but as I read through these documents, I had a couple of things I just wanted clarity on.
I'll ask my question.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Leo, are you okay with that? Okay. My first question was just looking at the proposed paving for next year. Obviously, none of the Webster streets are listed here. I'm assuming that's because all those paving projects, although they're not finished yet, are being considered to have been on last year's budget. I want to
Yep.
confirm, because people in the neighborhood are perpetually asking, when are those streets going to be paved? They are all going to be paved fully, all the ones that are, Ripped up
Included and
this year.
funded as part of
Okay.
that project.
so
These
that
would be considered different.
different things being added. Thanks. That was the first question. I wanted to ask Clint, when you stated that there's an updated that you focused on the updated Appendix C. Um, You're talking about as it was updated and approved in the budget, correct?
100%.
Where the number came in at the 1,470,375.
Correct.
Okay, and that's the attachment you had, but this attachment that you sent us is showing what we already approved in the budget. It's not showing these recommended changes in step two.
Made no
Correct.
changes.
Okay.
Procedurally, if
Yeah.
changes are to be made, they'd have to come back as an order.
Yeah.
So we would queue them up for a future meeting.
So that was helpful. I just wanted to be clear on that. And then I wanted to ask on step 4, where we're talking about the 56 Main, the building across the street. And maybe this one should wait, I don't know. But my only question about this is just, are we going to have had further discussions with the Route 2 corridor planning people before we start work on this building or not? And is all the work interior then? Because I would be nervous about anything designing exterior around that now that we own a property we didn't own before and we haven't talked with the Route 2 corridor design planning people about how traffic flow could be different than what they last showed us based on new property we own. So I guess my question is, would it all be interior to the building, or are you, I would be nervous about anything exterior till we
Yeah.
talk more Route 2.
Yep, there's more later. It's all interior. The only decision that has been made is the northerly or westerly most location as we're heading up Route 2, but right at the intersection of Pine Street, there's a driveway, exit only. We have blocked that off permanently. We do not want that used. We do not support any of the renters or other people using it. We're pushing all traffic back here further away from the intersection.
Okay, those were the only clarifying questions. Thanks, Leo. I just wanted, before we went on.
Okay, Councilor Baker had some clarifying questions.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if this is clarifying or not, but it is a question. So these are suggested changes to the budget that was approved last month.
So the capital plan that was coming forward, council asked for some conversations about what we were using. There was a promise made that we would bring this back after the budget was passed. So these are changes to the reserves, not the amounts, but where the money would be allocated. The step 4 would be 2 new ones that I would have queued up as separate items to bring in front of the council for an order and then a recommendation and action. Since you were having this type of presentation and workshop type format, I included them on the memo now so that you could have this discussion. I would fully recommend both of those coming back because you need to do something.
Okay. And so to follow up, I just want to make sure I understand. So these suggested changes are not changes to funding levels, only a reallocation from spent this year to put in reserve this year.
Or in step 4.
Or in step 4, yeah.
Yeah, or step, correct, 100%.
Okay.
All right.
Good, just to help the public though, this budget had $200,000 to buy an excavator. Staff's recommending you do not do that. Use 95,000 of that towards the truck purchases that were delayed because they're higher priority, and then put 105,000 into reserves. That's still 200,000, just like the excavator was, but they don't want to do the excavator. They think they're not supportive of that. That's why I'm bringing it forward.
Okay, you all set, Jacob? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Council Marks has another one?
Yeah, just that my other question, Clint, was, so am I correct when I look at the Appendix C that 2 of these truck purchases were originally budgeted or planned to happen this year, but the third one was planned not to happen until 2027? So what we're doing is we're delaying the excavator purchase and we're moving up a truck purchase a year?
1 was planned to be fully purchased.
Mhm.
2 were planned to be partially funded but not purchased. They're now saying fully fund the
Okay.
other 2. So it's 2 additional.
So my only concern is like if we're pushing the excavator off, right, that's a $200,000 expense and we have 105 in reserves, but we don't have that 95. Is there an equal 95 savings happening because of trucks that will not be being purchased next year?
So
Or
again,
is there a
there's-
difference happening there?
I mean, this is where it gets in. You have more than a decade's worth of purchasing here.
Mhm.
This is about prioritizing what's not been
Understood.
funded. So we're bringing forward with the staff on their best recommendations. So when this came up with this staff, they came in, we brought senior management together with the assistant director and went over all of these. These are the recommendations that came out. They were very upset on one of the trucks that was cut. There was another one that they felt was definitely being remiss by not being forward thinking. As we've discussed as a council, the excavator is something that they rent and they're doing it through project budgets. They feel that that can continue more than going without these vehicles. These vehicles are very, very poor shape.
Understood. Thank
Yep.
you.
Oh,
But
very
just-
poor shape, you said? Okay, and this came in at what part of the process did the communication in terms of whether the trucks would be a priority versus the excavator? Was that wasn't here?
When
was
the
it? That
council
was-
started
yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
priorities,
Yeah.
I invited staff in. I said, why am I getting so many questions? They went over it and they said, here's some things that we would like to recommend to you.
Okay,
So I directly met with senior leadership, Assistant Public Works Director, and the two foremen, Facilities Director
okay,
of Public Works, and said, finish this list with me.
okay. And this reflects the best thinking of what the existing staff wanted. Okay.
Yep.
Works for me. Thanks. Ready to have a discussion now? Yep. Counselor Kenny.
So I guess speaking to Sarah's point about the excavator and worrying about not having funds for it, keep in mind, we've never owned an excavator, right? And,
Correct.
and there's some discussion about whether that we would do that, have an excavator instead of something else or whatever. But I mean, I think it's not a foregone conclusion that we're getting an excavator ever. I would say, and, you know, certainly a new public works director would be the one talking about that. So, I don't want to like scare into, we don't have money for an excavator that we've never had is not I don't think a good rationale. And as far as on the trucks, again, I'm again requesting that we, for facilities, we use the retired police cruisers. And I shared the inventory that we had last year. It's not updated. It looks like the oldest truck might be 2009, but I think we have 7 or 8 pickup trucks. We've got 4 10-wheelers. We've got tractors, backhoes, you know, all kinds of other stuff. We don't have enough people, obviously, to drive all the vehicles at once. And my sense is that a lot of times staff is paired up or more than paired up. So I appreciate that we've put some things on hold. I would like to see the full 200,000 go into reserves, and let's spend the 100,000 that we had allocated for trucks. Let's let the Director of Public Works decide, you know, it's still there. Should we get the 3/4 ton and put some in reserves? Or, I mean, I think we've allocated 100,000. I would like to see us stick with that 100,000. And, you know, it's not, I don't think when you talk about vehicles, it's not like forward thinking, really planning ahead, because vehicles are vehicles. You know, if you get a vehicle now, you're going to need to replace it 1 year sooner. So, I mean, and I know we have a mechanic, we have rusted vehicles. I know that too. But again, with 7 or 8 vehicles, I mean, are we not able to do what Public Works needs to do? If we even had 6, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about getting 1 or 2. So we always talk about the impact on service. I have to believe that we could probably squeak by with 7 or 8 pickup trucks. And again, as a facilities director, the facilities is kind of a new position. We have, I think today they probably drive the old Interceptors, and I get that sometimes they might need a truck, but I think given that I would think anytime you need a truck, you're probably going to Bangor and you have to go right by and pick up a truck. So I'd just like to be a little more conservative on vehicles. That's my aim, and that was what I had, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be here, so that was my request in that email that I'd sent to you all.
So the update, just to give you the full, to that question, I've answered all the specific questions in email. Public Works owns vehicle 3101. It's a maroon sedan. It has not been used in over a year, and they have been recommending to get rid of it. That has nothing to do with any of it, but there is a vehicle being eliminated that just never was done when another vehicle was retired into them. They have 2 police interceptors that are scheduled this year to be part of the hand-me-down. This is no cost because police is buying 2 new. They're going to move those 2 vehicles they have into their spare and into their travel vehicle, which is what they have in police. That's the model that we've been sustaining that's in your capital plan. That moves those two used vehicles that would replace the gray #2 interceptor that is used while at work by your environmental specialist to go around to all the projects they use. She is not sharing. It's available for her use. That does not mean she's the only one to use it, but it's available for her and her role to maintain all the projects she's doing. The other one goes to one of our two facilities people, and is currently assigned to the facilities I would call worker, not the cleaning side, but more on the working side. And that vehicle is also recommended by mechanic to be removed from service and sold. So both of those would be gotten rid of. Those two retired cruisers are being turned down, both one to facilities, one to environmental services is the plan for those two. After that, the two new ones there is a 2000, I got to get this right, 9 black regular cab pickup with a lift gate and side boxes with the auxiliary fuel tank that's used by that is used by the crew. It has been used for all the sites. It's a shared vehicle by all the crew members. That vehicle has 154,968 miles and is 17 years old. So staff's feeling that it's at a risk for the projects they're handling. I have seen them all. I've got photos of them if we have to bring them up. There's no question that is beyond its useful life and is costing us more to maintain and use. The next one is a black extended cab pickup. It is the best of the three. It is the newest at 12 years old, but it does have 133,000 miles, 23,000 miles as we sit here today. And they did update that same spreadsheet. I can share it out. I asked them to confirm today. They did confirm it's been updated in the past month. So I want to get that back out to council as well. They are recommended. That vehicle is used by the foreman on roads, Adam Smart. And again, he's the lead for all our road projects. With the situation we're in, I went hands-on with this team that went through it. I think it's a good recommendation. And we were funding for its eventual purchase. That would be recommendation number, I want to make sure I get the right one. Facilities. Is an additional $45,000 to be allocated for that one purchase. So I did think that was a good recommendation. Oh wait, let me make sure. That's facilities, crew truck, yes, an additional 45,000. So again, I like that recommendation. I think they're being frugal and as well as setting aside money, but those were the ones. I want to get those truck numbers out to you just so we can do it for reference. Those are vehicles 3090 and 3130. And when I send this out, those will be color coded in red so the council can see those as well. Like I said, I just got this late this afternoon, asked the team to pull it together. We can always delay, but the money's gonna be sitting there in reserve. You can wait till the new director's here. I'll be back because I'm pretty sure the new director is going to make the similar assessment that I did. Those trucks are beyond the useful life. We'd like to get them out to bid, get one or purchased again. But that waiting is, as long as the money goes to reserve, I want to make sure I'm clear with that. We're good.
Yeah.
That does not mean we're going to wait a year. It means we're going to wait and the new director is going to come back as soon as he's looked at it. It could be August 11th. That's be his first council meeting and he might just say, I'm ready, let's go.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Obviously, it's now allocated, so that's where it would go. But you know, for what it's worth, I've got a 2013 with 150,000 on it too. It's not beyond its useful life. I hope to be buried in it. So,
So ordered.
Uh-oh. Yep.
It's unanimous.
You know who maintains a cemetery, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for delay, and I appreciate that there are 2 interceptors and 2 that are going to be retired. But you know, again, what if we keep one of them? That's what I'm looking for.
So in terms of, I always want every counselor to be successful when they have things they want to talk about and every citizen to be successful. And it doesn't feel like, it feels like would it take a council action to stop any of these allocations at this point that have already been made, or would it, what's the?
I don't think so. I mean, as your town manager, you hire me to
Yeah.
oversee the town. this staff does not want some of the items listed. They want to redo the program. They've presented, in my opinion, what has convinced me a better plan. So these would have to be, though, approved by a council, because I'd like to see the community, the transparency for this community to
Sure.
know what our plan is. So they should be adopted as changes, whether it's the Margin Street,
Mhm.
say any of those should be voted by the council and brought forward that way. So I would like to see them come back. If this is a situation where you'd like the new director here before they come back, I'm fine with that, short of step 4. I want clear input tonight on those, because the timing of both of those is becoming more and more important.
So does it feel like, Leo, would it serve your end if we asked that we have a conversation once the new director is on board? Does that make sense? If, I mean, we're not gonna, the money's gonna stay in reserves and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I think I'm in favor of putting the excavator on hold. I just don't want to reallocate and
already on hold.
respend. Yeah, I know. So
Put it on.
I think that's
Not gonna go by
great.
next-
And yeah, so let's,
Everything here is being implemented as written or done nothing
Yeah.
to be held so that a decision can be made based upon this recommendation. None of this work, and I'm getting more familiar, they queue up work now so that next spring they can start it.
Yeah.
So we're not affecting any projects that were scheduled to be completed this summer. Everything's on schedule. That was in the memo at the beginning. If you read the work they're doing, the roads they're completing, and what's going to be finished this
Right.
summer.
So, but does it, I mean, and it's very hard, I think it's hard on us, unless we, you know, I think Leo, I think Council Kenny spends a lot of time kind of looking through this stuff, and it's hard for the rest of us to get there
Yep.
unless we have kind of a formal process to, you know, more, I don't know, Sarah, you probably got it covered all the time, but I'm not familiar with all this to the extent that I'd be comfortable making, but it feels like, so if we sit on the first items and then have you bring orders to us on, are people comfortable with an order, 2 orders on number 4?
Would it make sense for us to visit Public Works and see the condition of the trucks to help with the decision making?
Whenever you'd like. I wouldn't do it during a council meeting, but
Yeah. I have no idea what, I have no mechanical inclination of any kind, so I'm not inclined to.
now the truck's here.
Yeah.
We'll park them outside the next.
Council Bigger?
Yeah, and so please jump in and correct me if I'm not understanding this correctly. But I guess as I see it, my concern is that we just got done with 3 months of budget hearings and voted on a budget, but now we are asking to approve some changes to that budget. I guess from again, maybe I'm not understanding this correctly, but that's where my concern lies.
can I just, I mean, that is exactly what we're doing, but it's also exactly what we agreed to do. We agreed to sort of punt that discussion, we agreed to this because, and again, I guess if we want to talk big picture on the budget, I really feel like we should have been having the discussion from the get-go. Every department that comes up, we should be having the hard discussions. And I think how we did it was, well, we're not going to make, we're not going to make any suggestions tonight. And then again, we got to the end when we were going to be doing that, I thought, and then it didn't, we agreed, I think, because, well, I mean, I was the one pushing and it was agreed that, yeah, let's approve the budget. Let's talk about the details after. So that is exactly what we talked about doing.
I don't know if that,
Yeah.
yeah,
But Leo, I think, I mean, on this specific issue, perhaps not on most details of the budget, there was a very specific ask. I guess my concerns are just twofold. One is I really feel like, yes, we don't have a public works director at the moment, but we had a public works director until very recently, and quite a competent public works staff working under that director who have all been consulted about these trucks already. Our town manager feels quite clear that this is the direction to go. From what I just heard, he feels, I mean, Clint, you did not put a number on it, but the tone of your voice sounded to me like you felt 100% confident that you'll be back here with the new public works director asking us for the exact same thing. So just as far as managing council time and how much time we're going to spend rehashing these 3 trucks, I'm not sure we're not ready to just vote now, to be really honest. And that's my question really, like, as a council, are we ready to vote now on making these changes? And Clint, my question to you is, does this help you in some way to have this decided 2 months earlier, or is it really not causing you any trouble to have this vote in September?
Timing's always important to get things done and implemented. I like to finish things. I don't like things sitting there forever incomplete. I am not going to have much concern waiting till August 11th. And that's why I would queue these up, is they would be right here. The new director is is in transition. It's on the agenda a little later for the formal appointments, but I would like to work. I know I'll be able to work with him between now and then. The staff is ready to get these implemented. They knew though tonight I didn't know what to put on there for orders. So I did the presentation because I wanted to make sure we were all coming to some sort of consensus moment. So it would have been the 28th anyway. So I'm really only adding 2 weeks to the whole deal. And I'm like, 2 weeks, we can wait. We can make it wait. But I want to start, the stress of getting a bond in place, the $29,000 we talk at the bottom, the stress of getting that building ready in case it has to be the library is real. Staff is feeling it. We've got to get moving and we don't have any funds for those. So
Thanks, that's really helpful to know.
Can I just say, Sarah, when we did this budget, it was emphatic that we had to do sailor development, that we had to get a excavator, and that we had to do Taylor Road, right? That was a month ago. The point you're making is that, staff is saying this is what we have to do. Well, the same thing happened a month ago, and a month later, it's completely different. So let's be honest, okay?
careful on the completely different. I just
they're-
want to make sure
but
the
they're
staff
on-
did.
But no, but we've agreed they can be on hold. In a month
I get
ago,
it.
we couldn't have agreed to that.
Yeah, understood.
So,
And-
so you're saying the same thing now about trucks. I'm hearing from Clint that we absolutely have to have these trucks, and there's, it's emphatic. I don't think, and it could change in a month, just like it just did.
Understood.
We're talking about trucks. Let's not get
Understood.
too emotional about making sure we get trucks.
I'm not feeling emotional, Leo. I just was asking for some clarity on what implication it would have if we delayed and whether everyone else on council felt that the delay was something they wanted to do. So I've heard from staff that it doesn't sound like it'll have much effect. And I am curious if the rest of council wants to delay till October or just wants to decide now if everyone has an opinion or not. If no one does, that's fine. I was simply curious what other people thought.
My
Councilor Baker.
opinion is procedural. My vote will be driven procedurally. Again, we just had 3 months of budget hearings, and I don't like the fact that we're now rehashing this again. So whether we vote in 2 weeks from now or later, makes no difference to me. Whatever my vote will likely be based on the procedure.
Anybody else? I think,
No, but
Yeah.
I guess I do want to weigh in on number 4, and I do think it makes sense that we want to get started on that. So I'm in support of both of those.
so it makes sense, given the rush, could we have those as orders for our meeting and have a orders, action items, obviously not consent agenda items. So we'll have a discussion for our July 28th meeting on those two. And then the remaining pieces, if the new Public Works Director, sounds like the council's ready to move. And so the August 11th meeting would be a good opportunity to have the discussion about the other issues. Yep, Councilor.
Jacob, I had a question too, like your question about the procedural aspect of it. I do think it's important for the record that we haven't actually changed the amount being spent on capital improvement. We have relocated funds to certain lines and into reserves, but the amount would stay steady with what was approved in the budget. And I wonder if that's partly also part of the discussions that still need to happen at Finance Committee about how much authority the town manager has to move items from line to line on their own within a budget that doesn't change the total budget amount. So I just wanted to flag that might be something that could be part of that discussion that is already supposed to happen in Finance Committee, I would think.
Makes sense.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Excuse me. Okay. Next item up is a report from the Good Neighbor Committee. We've just for those at home, and a little bit of background. The Orono Town Council in May, responding to concerns about acts of violence in the Webster neighborhood, but also remembering that there was a similar, another act of violence in October. The Orono Town Council created the Good Neighbor Committee on May 12th. We created a charge, goals, and membership on our May 19th meeting. And we started meeting on June 2nd because Clint wouldn't let us meet on Memorial Day. And we had 7 weekly meetings that culminated today with a set of consensus recommendations from the Orono Good Neighbor Committee. I would share that Councilor Larway, myself, and Councilor Kenny were on that committee. In the document that's been attached, but was added today to the agenda because we just finished our work today. But we also had, in addition to, we had a number of landlords on the committee, or a couple landlords on the committee. We had a UMaine student, staff from the University of Maine. We were supported by the town manager, our police chief, our assistant town manager, and the town attorney in our work. And just to, in terms of tonight is just a presentation. We're not asking, it wouldn't be the first time I put something in front of you Monday morning and asked you to vote on it Monday night, but I'm not doing that tonight. We have the kind of the consensus recommendations from the committee for us to discuss and present. And then we do have an order creating a, calling a public hearing for our July 28th meeting, and we talked about that during the chair's report at our last meeting is in the minutes. So just at a high level, you'll see that we have the committee, our number one recommendation. In addition to the folks I mentioned before, we had representation from several of Orono's neighborhoods. And we really did have some really good conversations, and people who care about these kinds of things will be happy to know I got outvoted a bunch of times on stuff, but people were nice about it. So we came up with, working with the town attorney, and we looked at a couple different ordinances in a couple other college towns. We worked closely with the staff and the attorney to develop this disorderly property ordinance updates. We considered working on the noise ordinance, but we thought, I think it was Chief Merrill, who's here with us this evening. I seem to recall was his advice that, look at the disorderly property as an ordinance as an opportunity for us to establish standards for good behaviors in our neighborhoods and give us the tools we need to, as a community, to work to improve those. So you'll see again, later in the meeting, we're looking to call a public hearing for July 28th, which would be the public process that we have for any type of ordinance change. Our second recommendation was we've been working with particular Councilor Hardison, myself, and Council Powers worked with a UMaine student on discussing in the Community Development Committee about renters' rights and resources. So we thought that would be some important information to share. So many of our residents in Orono are first-time renters when they come to our community, and there are a lot of, between state law and the resources we have in town, there are rights and resources that would be helpful to be able to share with people. We talked about communicating our good neighbor expectations and engagements and the work that we would do. We developed a 2-pager of various to kind of describe the changes at a high level. And we recommended a number of steps that we could take as a community to create awareness around our good neighbor expectations. I would share in terms of the ordinances at the highest level, the ordinance changes we proposed as a committee and reached a consensus recommendation on would update and expand Orono's definitions of disorderly activities. It would establish for the first time a $300 occupant fine, which could apply to a homeowner or a tenant for a disorderly activity. That's not something we have in ordinance today. It doubles the fines between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. We're already talking about changing that to 7 a.m. so it aligns with our noise ordinance when it comes back to us for our work that we'll do as a council to establish quiet hours for the community. And it doubles the fines for large and unruly events of more than 20 participants in Orono neighborhoods that have disorderly activities. Now, there are a lot of gatherings in our community, in our neighborhoods, which are large, but are entirely ruly. Is ruly a word? Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess they follow the rules that makes them ruly. And there was one on, I drove by one on Winter Haven on Saturday night where just, a lot of people attending, people, doing what you expect and want good neighbors to do when they gather together at their house with friends and loved ones. So there's a lot of room in Orono to have, to get together and have a good time, to socialize, to build community. We are specifically targeting those events that have clear examples of disorderly activity. So I talked about number 3, to communicate the good neighbor expectations and engagement. Number 4, we looked at, as you'll recall, when we first had these discussions, the town manager and his staff put together a list of levers that the town could pull. That included things like hiring more police officers, hiring a second code enforcement officer. And the committee didn't think at this time it'd be right to recommend an expenditure of resources for those kinds of additions. And I know that here on the council, we're of course always careful about adding the employee count of Orono. We do encourage the town and the police department to prioritize allocating existing resources to good neighbor engagement and enforcement, and to update the council on its, not a report, but just kind of for the town manager to update us, the council, on implementation plans at the August 11th meeting. That's a recommendation. And then 5th, we do think it's important that this disorderly activity and property reporting and responsiveness, we think it's important. We think one of the areas of frustration that residents have had or neighborhoods have had when there's been a particularly big or egregious event is people just don't get feedback, or it's been hard for people to understand what's happened. And there are things that happen, once there's an event that is disruptive and the town appropriately engages with it and works to address it, improve it. But if people never hear about it, it leaves them wondering what happened and, why did I bother calling? So we're suggesting that the town, and this is a suggestion, and there'd be a lot of room for the staff to implement this as they choose, depending on what council's reaction to this kind of thing. We're suggesting some sort of weekly update where from the police department on good neighbor issues, either educational and awareness, or if there's a time where a property designation, a property is designated as disorderly. And again, there's a disorderly activity, which are things like harboring underage drinking, allowing it to occur at your property, or blocking traffic or unruly behavior. And then there's a disorderly property, which is what you get when the police have shown up and there's been activities and you get on this disorderly property list, and you have to work with the town through a number of steps to remediate that designation. So we're suggesting that if a disorderly property designation occurs over a weekend at, say, heaven forbid, at 7 Page Place in Orono, it gets on the list. We don't name names, but we're going to tell people, where it was, street address. And we'll hope, we'll hope that the town council chair was out of town and he's got kids to blame for whatever, But that's the thinking there. Chief Merrill has offered, and I've always found him to be true to his word on this, that he's always happy to talk to any resident about anything that he can appropriately share. We have to make it clear that he's not in a position where he can share everything about every incident that happens under his watch and that his department responds to, but he did express to us a willingness to be a source of information if people have questions about a specific noise or nuisance complaint that happened like over a weekend. He may not be able to respond in 6 minutes or less, but he's always responsive when he can be. And if we'll have to assess things, and if for resources and things like that, and if people are blowing up his inbox, then we'll have to have conversations as a council about resource allocations and things like that. We'd ask the town manager to update us as needed, as he thinks is necessary, on good neighbor engagement enforcement activities in the council. We're recommending that the staff develop a framework to track and report disorderly activity complaints and investigations, as well as disorderly property declarations by address and neighborhood. So we have some transparency about the activity and what's going on. And finally, the Good Neighbor Committee would like to ask the council to continue to meet on a quarterly basis. We're suggesting November, March, and July to accept and consider the in-depth good neighbor data that the town is going to develop, to invite public participation and comment whenever there are questions about how Orono is responding to improve, build better awareness and build better relationships and adherence. And finally, to consider additional recommendations to council consistent with the goals and charge of the Good Neighbor Committee. We didn't take a lot of time looking at supporting long-term planning, for instance, in our 7 weeks. Really very little to none, I suppose, other than asking that we continue to meet. So I'm happy to hear from other members of the council that are part of the committee, or try and answer any questions anyone may have.
Just to add on, I was on the committee as well. And Dan jokes about the response time from our chief. Everyone at the table agreed that his response in an email to an email does not qualify as an emergency. And so you're not, it's not, shouldn't be expected that if you call on a Friday night or a Saturday night, you're going to get something back Sunday morning. So are you going to get a call back? Are you going to get an email back on the weekend? No. Are you, would he, when he comes in on Monday and he's going through, that week, more than likely you would have a response back. So kidding aside, I do believe he's open to, he will be responsive, but setting the expectation that that's not a instantaneous thing where, hey, I emailed you, why didn't I get an email back?
Sure.
And I guess it was a great committee. I think we had worked very well together, people at the table, landlords, residents, and everything. So it really was a great committee. But I am concerned because, we met for 7 weeks and it was an hour and a half each day. And it was an ad hoc committee that we threw together one night. And I'm concerned about staff time. And I guess I'd be interested to hear from Clint. Oh, maybe this isn't the time, but I think that's something we as a council really need to be cognizant of. We just kind of jumped on that and set it up. It happened, boom, boom, boom. But he mentioned our police chief was there, our assistant chief or deputy chief, I'm not sure what his title is. He was there also at times. Town manager, assistant manager were there probably every meeting, and it was an hour and a half for 7 weeks. And then they left there and probably were doing the lion's share of the work and reaching out, and we've got attorney charges and all of that too. But I guess I would ask Clint, I feel like we may be spreading our new guy. I guess, are you even the new guy anymore? You've been here a year? I know, no. All right, so we can spread you as thin as we need to. No, but I feel like when we do, we need to be very cognizant about jumping into something like that. And, I don't know, we could have even just probably asked staff, and it might have been a lot less time commitment for them to produce probably maybe a similar outcome. I think that's maybe more how it might have been done in the past, and I know we're trying to change that. But Clint, do you have any idea what kind of time commitment that staff we just extracted from staff? Because whatever those hours are, we assume that you weren't sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for us to tell you there's something to do. So something didn't get done, or we're abusing you.
Staff's not here to be, we didn't feel abused. But I mean, again, hindsight, I guess, is 20/20. I think that's the trouble. You enter in all these, and I am the new guy, and I'm learning as we adapt to different things and adjusting with what we can and can't fit and finding those weaknesses. And I mean, every day is a learning process. Every council meeting's a learning moment. And I tend to leave every council meeting learning something else. So in this situation, and again, I do like the fact that I can be candid and joke and share. And yes, this was a lot more work than I think I'd originally anticipated. I have not quantified it, and anything I'd say would just be, kind of a guess right off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely within my own frame of reference, 5 to 8 hours a week at least, because of meetings with the attorneys and emails and stuff like that. And the timing with this one was a little harder with closing up the budget. But that's, I learned a lot about the budget process, and I'm already making changes to next year's budget process. So I think overall, I mean, yes, I appreciate the fact that the council's aware of this as an issue and that we can't have unlimited committees with, that come up. But again, that being said, this one wasn't what I would call your normal situation. It came up very unexpected, and there was some major issues in and behind this. The person involved always is going to have very strong personal feelings. This one also, though, affected an entire neighborhood. And I think that's where I think we were willing to do a little bit more and come together a little bit more quickly. But yeah, we had 4 or 5 people working quite a bit. A little outside of the normal course of duty, which means other things were shifted. But that's the job to some degree as well. If you want me to come do it, we could probably sit down as a team and figure out what we did each week, but I would probably say that would just
Not
be
at all.
more time spent. figuring
Not at
out how
all.
much
Yeah,
time we
right.
spent.
No, but I just think, again, I wanted to raise it for council.
Yep.
To be cognizant that ad hoc committees can be a lot. And again, it's great to be responsive. We want to be responsive to everyone. Quite frankly, we can't be responsive to everyone and everything. So just let's be cognizant of that is, I guess, the message.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work during the budget. It was at the same time, I will say that we tried something. Andrea, Matt, and I spent some time working on this over the course of 3 months, a meeting, half an hour, 20-minute conversation as part of the Community Development Committee. And that's the other end of the spectrum where things don't work because you're not working with enough intensity to get something done. And we got to find that balance where, maybe not in the budget season, but at the same time, we got a limited window here between an April event that had violence and the start of a new school year. But I know that when we had, I think, 3 different agenda topics on the Community Development Committee where we looked at the noise complaints and things like that. And it was too spread out, too far apart to be a productive way to get something done in a public decision-making process. So any other questions or comments about the, one more observation I wanted to share for sure is that Orono residents have to have a big role in this in terms of calling in with concerns about noise and nuisance. It's important, I think, that we agree. This is one of those examples where I got, outvoted, right? I mean, we decided that we're going to really prioritize the 866-4000 number for people to call that goes to dispatch. It's answered by the police department, but it's not 911. And I had a preference for 911, but was talked out of that in terms of something to promote for these kinds of calls because those are life safety, and I get it. And I told the committee that I thought they were all wrong, but I don't get to be right all the time. So we were going with the 866-4000. People need to call. It's the first step in the process in engaging our disorderly activity and our disorderly property approach. It's safer. It's not safe to engage with disorderly activity in a lot of circumstances. And we have a community policing, de-escalation. What do we term as de-escalation trained law enforcement agency who are professionals, and that's how to get something started, because we can't stop the problem if we don't start with a call to the police department to get the activity addressed. So there's that, and so we're gonna need a lot of communication with people like that, because I'm the same way. I'm inclined to go talk to my neighbor, but we got to really convince people that the 866-4000 is the right way to start any kind of engagement with this. So
Yeah, and that was, I mean, I think coming in, a lot of us all thought that. I think maybe Clinton was saying that, and we were thinking, but that would inundate the real emergencies. And I also, in my mind, 866-4000, I sort of thought like, oh, if you call at night, it's like going to be an answering service or something. I wouldn't even have known. So it's on us to publicize the fact that you will still get the same, you'll get, not a 911 response, but you'll get an immediate response and they dispatch and whatnot. So that was news to all of us half of us at the table probably. And so it's clearly going to be news to half of the residents, probably more.
Councilor Larway, did you have anything to?
Just that, I mean, my participation on the committee, through it, I felt really good about the quality of conversations we were having, helping community members feel like they were finally being heard on something that I think that they were feeling was festering for a long time without really getting a response from their perspectives. And I think point taken about, being cautious about throwing together committees all the time, but this was in response to, I think, an urgent issue, and I feel really good about what came out of this. So I'm grateful to everybody who participated. I learned a lot. I think everybody did. And I also am obviously fully in support of what we have before us. I think that this is a great first step. We'll see, what comes next, what we get from the data. And, if approved, then, when the committee meets again quarterly, we'll have an opportunity to go through things and see how we're doing. So
Okay.
I don't know. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. In terms of next steps, is that okay in the process for next steps? Do you have any questions? Did Jacob have a question? Fine. So, yeah,
I was gonna start to ask about if there had been discussion about neighboring properties and neighboring owners' responses. So I'm glad to see that I'm gonna be pushing the 866-4000. It's all in our approach too. If
Yeah.
you run out the door, video camera in hand, swearing and yelling, you're gonna escalate the situation as opposed to calling the 866-4000, doing neighborhood outreach when they first arrive. So that, I just was gonna ask, but that answered the question.
okay. Councilor Marks.
Yeah, I just mostly wanted to say thank you. I think this committee did an incredible amount of work in a short amount of time. And having done that before on NECAP, I know what that takes. So to Leo and to Dan and to Rob and to all the community members and to staff who some are in the back and some are not, but all the people who showed up for that, as Dan said, that it is a real commitment. I really appreciated Leo's comment that we have to be very careful as a council about when we create these special committees. And I agreed with Rob that I think this was a scenario where we did need to create one, where we had tried a more spaced out approach over months that hadn't really worked. And we also had a community and whole neighborhood within our town who've been trying to get these issues addressed and to be part of those conversations for years. So I don't think it was a typical situation, and I'm incredibly grateful is what I really want to say to the work. I read this all today when it came out at the last minute, some when it came out earlier, and I'm very impressed by the quality of the work we're being offered, how thoughtful it is, and as Leo brought up, just how many voices seem to have been involved in getting here. So I feel very confident that all perspectives have been heard as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of next steps, if we're ready for that, we have an order calling a public hearing later today in today's agenda. I guess I don't really see anything else here that we got to jam up the town manager on in terms of an order from the council. Do we just, kind of accept this report? I mean, we could, right? I mean, there was a time that I probably would have said, all right, I'm going to make this into 8 orders and we're going to pass all of them. So we got a record that we told Clint to do that. I don't feel like we need to do that as someone who's on that committee and who's developing a lot of faith with the way that our staff and under the town manager's leadership is responsive to these kinds of things. So I don't feel like we need another, other than getting the ordinance done. I don't feel like we need another order. Is that okay with people? Clint, you want us to order you around, or what's that? Yeah. Yep.
Have we typically had orders accepting the report though? Like, I feel like there was an order accepting the whatever report very recently. Like, do we
Oh, I do
typically
think,
that?
I do think we're gonna need an order. We may need an order turn into our ECAP expert. I think we need an order to extend, we may need an order to extend the committee for the year and accept the report. Does that make sense? So we'll talk about that and bring that back. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, we'll put that together in the council leadership talk or whatever.
Sounds great.
Okay. Okay. Presentations, check. Acknowledgements by council members. Could we start with Councilor Baker?
Certainly. The land trust, which I know is not technically part of the town, but any public works staff that's been involved, our trails look amazing. And I'm always constantly amazed at the breadth and scope of our trail system that we have available to us here. So thanks to all the work that's gone into that.
Councilor Kenny?
Yes, just wanted to acknowledge staff. I think it's probably economic development and Parks and Rec primarily, but town off, direct town manager and assistant manager for a program that they've, I think, put together, and I don't even know the details, to be perfectly candid, but they have reached out in support of our businesses, maybe somewhat around the impact from the bridge and whatnot. But, that's partially, I think, what drove it again. But I don't know all the details, but I know I've heard from businesses, and I think they're feeling like, hey, this was pretty great to have the town supporting us. So I just want to acknowledge, well done by Economic Development and Parks and Rec, and I don't know what that position is. Community outreach. Community engagement. Yes. Thank you.
Councilor Marks?
Yeah, Leo's was one of mine, so I won't skip over that one. But I wanted to just thank Parks and Rec and all staff about the pool being open. I've been up there several times in the last week, and I am so enjoying seeing all the kids there and all the families there and all the activity there again. It was really a joy, a big, big joy. So thanks for that. And for Webster side, I just want to thank again, like so many people are commenting and utilizing Webster Park now, more people than I've ever seen, and so many comments about how much it's appreciated that the waterfront's been cleaned up and the invasives are gone, and it's so much even more beautiful and easier to access the water. And so huge thanks on that too.
Councilor Hardison?
I just want to thank the community support that we've been receiving for bringing back festival days and the interest in everyone for volunteering. And I want to thank Mina Chandraskar, I hope I
think
pronounced
so.
that correctly, for the leadership she's taken with organizing everybody and working with Cody for outreach.
Councilor Larway?
Nothing new at this time.
I'd like to complain that my bike tires got wet on the new crosswalk painting that we've done over the weekend. What's that?
You did that? You smeared it?
Yeah. No, it's been 3 weeks since our last council meeting, and there's a lot to be grateful for in Orono, and so much of it's been said already today, but the bridge getting open and stuff like that, but really nice to see that the crosswalks are painted, and just part of the Orono Stops commitment to being more visible and having infrastructure and getting an Orono Stop. What, do you got a problem with an Orono Stops plug?
No, no. Do you spend all your time just patrolling the neighborhoods on your bike?
You want to see, I got 900 calories of mountain bike riding in yesterday. So, yeah, a lot of time on the bike. All right, that's all the acknowledgements we have, and it's nice to have you back, Council Baker. It's not the same when you're not here. All right, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is an opportunity for the council to vote as a single action with no discussion on a number of items, and a member of the council or the public can always request to have anything removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a separate action item.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion on the consent agenda. Can we have a second? Second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Action items. Order 25-176, order setting the date of July 28th at 5 p.m. for a public hearing to consider amendments to the Town of Orono Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, Law Enforcement, Article 3, Disorderly Property. Could we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We already had a pretty good discussion about this. I don't know that we need anything else. And any questions from the public? Any comment from the public? Okay. All those in favor? It's unanimous, so we'll have a public hearing. Order 25-177, setting the date of July 28th, 5 p.m. for a public hearing for a dangerous building, 69 Margin Street.
So
Can we
moved.
have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Stone.
Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager. I'll be brief with this. This is a public hearing, and it actually is a hearing to allow you to look at some information around a issue that code enforcement is dealing with since 2021, and in 2023, notice of violation for a building that was in bad shape. Our attorney suggested that this was a way that we could possibly look at handling this situation that was a little different than going to court and looking at how we would at the end of the day, going to court and getting the violation and all that resolved doesn't fix the problem. So this is an opportunity. I will just warn you, it is a little longer than your normal public hearing. It is an actual hearing, but it won't take up too much time of that meeting. But that's what this is all about.
Okay, any clarifying questions? Any comments from the public? Any council discussion?
Will we receive information beforehand or?
Yeah, we will have it for the
28th?
packet. There'll be information, but also it is an opportunity for people to, the owner and code enforcement will also come up and have an opportunity to talk to you about what's going on there.
So that'll happen in a public setting, is that?
Yeah, it will happen. It will happen during your meeting on the 28th.
And we'll get like a memo about what happens if we declare a dangerous building.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll give you all that information.
Okay.
And if I can get that out sooner to you folks so you can see it, I will try to do that.
Okay. Monday morning of the meeting seems to work for me, but I think maybe a little, yeah. I'm teasing.
4:45?
Yeah. As long as a man has got time to hit copy on the copy. No. All right. Thank you, Mitch, very much. Any other discussion from council? Yep. All those in favor of calling the public hearing? It's unanimous. Order 25-178, order approving the final language for the town manager and town council 360-degree performance surveys. Could we have a motion?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Council Marks, are you going to lead this?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the council had asked the NECAP committee to work on finalizing the surveys with our consultant who was hired. So that was Gary Friedman and Associates. I think the best way to look at these documents is actually from the bottom up. So what you see at the bottom on the agenda are the actual surveys as they would look on a screen as created by Gary Friedman based on the language that we had given them. There's above that, you see what an email sort of invitation to take the survey might look like. And then the document at the very top is a document that folks would only see if they clicked on a link saying, I want to know more about this survey process. I want a lot more details about how this is going to work. And if you click that link, then you get all those details, which would tell you if you needed accessibility help to fill out the survey, if you need a paper copy of the survey. Some of this is in the email, but there's details there about confidentiality of information and also the things that council had asked to be in there regarding that this is not a place on a survey to make a complaint that you actually want someone to get back to you about and address, right? If you have a complaint you require a response about, this is not the way to do it. It's anonymous. So we don't know who you are and we can't respond back to you. So I don't know if that helps, but that is sort of the sequence. The surveys themselves are there at the bottom, sort of a short email invitation that would go out with the surveys, or it could go in social media. It doesn't need to be an email. And then the document at the top has very many details. I do have a couple questions for council, but first I would just like to answer questions from council. Any questions folks had on these documents?
Any questions? Nope. No questions?
That's good.
Yep.
Okay. I have two questions for all of you then. The first is in having discussions with Gary Friedman and Associates and also with our community engagement director, Cody, and by email about the number of people who engage with us in different ways, it became even clearer that the way in which pretty much every household in Orono engages somehow with the town about information is the Observer, which I guess we all knew, but it goes out. There's a commitment by staff to get it out right at the end of August this year. So it would be out before the survey opened on September 1st or right about there, maybe the day after, in people's mailboxes outside. So since that is the way that we reach the biggest number of people, our Facebook page, Cody told me, has about 3,000 plus followers, and our Instagram account has about 1,000 plus, but number of households is about the same 3,000. Is that correct? Do we think? Anyhow, similar number. The recommendation from Gary Friedman and Associates was that we, as opposed to the language you read saying that the town manager survey would open on September 1st and the town council survey wouldn't even open until October 1st, They're recommending that instead we allow both surveys to open as soon on September 1st, so that anyone who read the Observer could see, if I want to do them both right now, I can do it. I can go online, I can fill them out both right now. However, they wouldn't both be pushed out on social media simultaneously, because the belief is that when someone opens something on your phone and it says it's going to take you 10 minutes to fill out this survey and then 10 minutes to fill out the next survey, nobody does both, right? People don't tend to want to spend that much time when something opens up on their device. So I think I'm asking you to approve this with a caveat that we would allow Gary Friedman and Associates to change the language slightly, that both surveys could open on September 1st. So anyone who read it in the Observer could choose to go do them whenever they want. The town manager survey would still close on September 21st, so we can get the report back on the schedule we need. The town council one would still not close until October 21st, and they would be pushed out on social media separately, one on September 1st and one on October 1st. And I hope that wasn't confusing, but that was a recommendation I just got in the last few days from Gary Friedman. So I'm putting that out along with what's there. That is my first question to you. Does council feel comfortable with that kind of a schedule? I'm seeing nods.
Yeah.
Okay. And that will involve a couple tweaks in language to change some of the dates saying when things open. So everyone's good with that. My other question to council is, when we talk about pushing this out on social media and via email on all of our town platforms, it's not always clear what that means when we say all of our town platforms. And so, again, in conversations with Jordan at Gary Friedman, it became clear that we should ask that, and we should ask staff that, and sort of have that conversation. As I understood from Cody, these numbers I gave you are the numbers for the town's Facebook and Instagram, but departments also have sometimes their own, correct, Cody, not if I'm right, but their own social media accounts. Some of those have a lot, like the police apparently is winning the amount right over there, 10,000 or something going. And likewise with email, the emails for mass notification for like council events is like 286, but I bet you Parks and Rec and the library both have us beat. I don't know, Cody could tell us, but there are these various lists. So we wanted some clarity when we say, is it going out everywhere? And I'll just say out loud, my own opinion is that since we're talking about our town manager, I feel like he belongs to every department. So I would personally like to see them go out on all the department, social media accounts and email accounts. And likewise with the council, I feel like we impact every department by the decisions we make about what we fund for them and what we don't. So I would hope we would put it out on all the departments as well as the central office ones. And I guess I wanted to council to weigh in and Clint to weigh in if he thinks that's a terrible idea, but that's what Jordan and I were talking about.
Dude, some people get multiple hits of the same request. I know I'm signed up for a lot of stuff, and the Orono Bikers Association updates and stuff. So, but yeah, that's, other than that, I mean,
I think that makes sense. I'm curious if we also at some point should talk about 286 is a little bit maybe anemic on people volunteering for emails, and maybe we can't do better, but that seems like a channel worth also hyping maybe. Although I don't know, I guess people choose the channel they want, but like I see occasional stuff on Facebook, but it feels very random to me just because I don't probably use Facebook that great. Definitely don't use Instagram great. I get every email when there's a meeting, notice a meeting. And so that would be nice to see that number go up, but I agree 100% with what you just said.
So that's all I have if
Okay.
we're ready to vote. As long as we understand final means there be a little tweaking of dates when surveys open.
that seems understandable. Okay, any comments from the public? Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Excellent. Now, order 25-179 is order approving 15,000 of opioid settlement funds to Save a Life Lincoln.
So moved.
Moved, seconded,
Second.
you got it? Okay.
Evening.
Chief Merrill, I'm gonna send you an email right now, see how long it takes you to get back to me, but thank you for.
I got my computer back there. We'll see. I've got to a couple. Dan Merrill, Police Chief. So I passed around just for the council, just a pamphlet of something that I picked up while I was at Save a Life. I took a stop up there, in Lincoln. It's a support resource, I guess I would call, that's located in Lincoln. I went up there and paid a visit to them, spent a few hours up there getting to know them, find out what the duties are, responsibilities, tasks, what they do up there. Just get to know a little bit more about them. Just before the 4th of July, and I would say that I came back very encouraged, actually, that something like that exists north of Bangor. Bangor, we know, has a lot of resources, right? Or we have a tendency to have more resources because of the proximity to Bangor, right? Even for Orono. North of here, Lincoln's going to be one of your last stops to get some serious resources probably before you hit Aroostook County. So it was one of the reasons why I stopped up there. Coincidentally, it helps out that I might know the police chief that's up there, so I was looking to help him out too. So I met with them, staff's great. My ask would be to have the council support a donation to them for $15,000. Save a Life is a nonprofit organization, so they basically survive on federal funding grants, donations from their various businesses up there. They say that they have some businesses that are in their community that are very gracious in supporting, whether or not it's food or some money, or any other places where they can really beg, borrow, and ask for money. I'm telling you, when I say that they are thrifty and they are a very, very conservatively run organization, it's astounding. Like, they tell me they run like on $300 a month, and I'm like, I can't walk into the door without spending $300 in the police department. So to think about running a nonprofit for $300 a month is crazy. For support, outreach, education, they provide Narcan, food, the resources up there for people in need up there, it's really abundant for what they do. So $15,000, I think, will, in talking with them, will go a long ways. They may have a renovation that they need to do, or a construction project that they mentioned to me that they haven't really been able to fund that would allow them an additional education space down in their basement. They have an actual building. So, you know, I think that that's a reasonable use, and it fits right in with what the opioid settlement funds are for, to help people. Anybody can go there, so it's anonymous. Like I saw, they have a sign-in book. So it is a resource for anybody who wants to pass through, is passing through, or just needs some help. So I haven't, to get back to something too, to close the loop on something, the order I came to you guys for before, the other project for funding, I haven't done anything with. I ran into an obstacle. I'm still working on that one, so I haven't spent that money. So the amount of money that we have is still about the same as what we had before. It's about 40 some odd $1,000. I'm expecting to get another $8,000 by the end of this year in our donations. So I thought $15,000 is a good number to help them out. Do a lot of good work with it. Questions?
Yep. Any clarifying questions? Council Marks has a clarifying question.
Thanks for this. This is really great to know about. I just was curious, is this completely volunteer staffed, or do they have any paid staff also, or how do they?
So it was my understanding they have 2 paid staffers. So there's 2 ladies that work as paid staffers in the building. And then I was actually able to sit down and meet with the 2 founding owners that came in and kind of gave me a little backstory about how this started. Probably about 10 years ago. It was just kind of a need that they had in the community, and these people were super active up there in the Lincoln area in identifying a need in their community, and they were able to secure a building and then kind of just be extremely creative in ways that they find money. So as far as collaborating with them and reporting back and getting a report back for them, I talked to them about getting a report back maybe in like 6 months to a year to find out what type of things they were able to do with this money to the council. They were like, yeah, we're completely used to having to report what we do. So I think that if that's something the council's interested in, I can definitely coordinate with them on getting something back to you guys.
Could we?
I just,
Go ahead.
I've met the director a few times, and I really appreciate that you sought this out and found this use for opioid settlement funds. I think it's directly square on where a great use for those funds, and really appreciate that you got up there, found them, and are bringing this to us. So thank you.
Yeah, it was very educational for me too. And like I talked to them, is, you know, I learned a lot in that side of the world is not something that we deal with a ton in my position. I don't know a ton about the recovery world. I don't get exposed to it as much. So I learned a lot. And so I feel, yeah, it's the least we can do, I think, to help their efforts because they definitely need the help. Nonprofits are not easy to run.
Any other clarifying questions? So this is, sorry, I was
I
gonna,
was just gonna say, not a question, but coming from a family that's affected by addiction and mental health, I just want to say how much I appreciate the work that you and your team does. And thank you for finding this.
Thank you.
and so we'll be able to publish or just refer people, I don't know, if publish is something we do, but refer people to Save a Life if we have a need to, and from
Yeah,
Orono, they'll.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, I brought some of their handouts, the pamphlets that I gave you guys.
Mhm.
I did leave some over here on the side, so I don't know if we could leave them in the manager's office. I have some still in my office. If anybody reaches out and they need contact information for this or this palm card or something like that, they're pretty easy to reach. They actually have a website too. It's Save a Life Lincoln, something to that effect. It's in this pamphlet, but if you Google it, it'll pop up.
Yep,
Yeah,
great.
great people to deal with. And fun fact, one of the ladies that I did meet with, she's an Orono resident. So we'll tie it back to Orono.
Excellent.
She went to the Orono school systems. You'll be happy.
Does she know Leo?
That's right. I was looking straight at Leah. Orono school systems.
Any good Leo stories you want to share with us before we?
No,
We'll do
no,
it.
no,
Like,
no,
Yep.
no.
good. Any public comment on this action item? Good. And no more discussion? All right, great. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank
Thank
you
you.
much, Chief.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
All right, we may not be done by 6:27, but we're closing in. Council committee reports. Community Development Committee, Matt's not here, but Andrea, do you want, anything you want to share?
Just that we've been working on the Orono Festival Days and getting that organized and on track. And Chief Merrill has met with us regarding the Orono stops and the results from the traffic studies
Yep.
for the speed.
Speaking of weekly meetings, we have our workshop tomorrow at 5:30 here. I think we're going to be in the conference room for that meeting, right, Mitch? For, that's the Festival Days workshop, and we're past the point where we're looking for new ideas unless it comes with someone who's willing to implement the idea. So it's, we got a lot of good ideas. And we're really focusing on a handful of pods, and it's September 6th, so save the date, and it's coming together. I think it's going to come together really well. Nominations, evaluations, and council policies committee.
I think we just gave you our biggest update. We're on to focusing on the council policy and procedures manual next.
Nope, I missed finance, sorry. Finance and operations, thank you.
I was getting ready to ask a question actually on the festival days, so I'll take this time to do that now. Just saw something on Facebook about community members being asked to volunteer. Are you gonna let us know where you want us or where the most pressing needs are? Because for us to help or me to help, not to volunteer anybody else, but
Yeah.
yes.
I got a Dunker Counselor idea for you coming up, so I'm gonna get you a UNH jersey, and I'm gonna put you in a dunk booth.
My wife would disown me.
Yeah, no, I think we'll
For the
absolutely.
UNH shirt, not the dunk. But anyways, yes. Yeah, happy to help in whatever way you need me.
Thank you, and we'll certainly take advantage of everybody and everyone who wants to help. So it's going to be a fun time.
Finance operations, I was not there at the last committee, so I'll defer to the others and or Clint if there's any pressing updates.
Everything's been queued up in their committee reports. They're doing some more right now, bond council, contracting paid family medical leave, and when and how to bid out workers' compensation are the three major huge lifts. We are circling back, and a draft is out and about with Jacob to be brought to the committee for some of the spending areas as well as a fund balance policy.
We did meet with the Boy Scouts.
Oh, yes, and we did meet with the Boy Scouts, and they're continuing to work with all the acronyms that I'm not going to remember. KCI.
ACI.
Thank you, KCI. And they'll be back to us, but it's they want to make sure it's sustainable, I guess, is probably the way I would summarize it.
Okay. Anything else on finance? Yep. We've got ordinance review committee. Rob?
We have not met in the interim since our last council meeting, so no new updates. I think staff is, I say staff, Shelley in particular, has been continuing to do some work gathering information for us on the various items that we'll be reviewing.
Matt's not here with the DEIB committee. Anything from staff or nope? Council chair update. I want to, when I'm not on my mountain bike, I'm in my kayak, and we've been invited by the Orono paddlers for a team building, and Lord knows we need one. Paddle of the Stillwater River. I shared a Google. We've been offered it for a Thursday evening. It would be something where I guess we'd have to notice it that, multiple counselors are in the same place at the same time. When I first shared a couple of dates, one was already passed. Only 2 counselors responded, and I get that it was budget season. I think we were wrapping that up. And so if I send around another survey asking for times in August, will people respond to it? And I'll send a text message reminder too, and whoever we get, people want to go paddling or
Get in a canoe and go on the water with you?
I
Is
might
that,
be in a
is that what
kayak.
this, oh,
Yeah. I always have to sit in the front because
Wait, so
I can't
if we're
see.
noticing it, can other folks bring their kayaks and come join us too, right?
I would think so, yeah. But I mean, they want to give us a tour of the Stillwater and kind of, kind of have a conversation about the resource. And I think it'd be a fun way to spend a little time together outside of a agenda. People are up for it. Yeah, I'll resend it. So we'll find another couple times. And Jeff Owen, very kind invitation. I want to take him up on it. I did also want to share, we've got a Shelley, as she's done, when we're talking about our municipal year is fast coming to an end. We're doing the surveys. The 100th day prior to the election is July 28th. That's when there'll be 2 councilor terms expiring this year. I don't have to name names, but Councilor Hardison and Councilor Kenny, your seats expire in November. Anyone who wants to run, the nomination papers will be available to the public on July 28th. So that's the time of our next meeting. And then those 60 days prior to the election, nomination paperwork is due back to the municipal clerk. So that's, are
happy to help somebody collect signatures as well.
you signaling? Well, nothing. Okay. And yeah, she gave us dates on the absentee ballots and things like that, but that'll be down the road. There will be also 1 school board member seat. Board member Noah Charney, is that how you pronounce Noah's last name? Is expiring this year. So there'll be opportunities for people to serve. And okay, I guess that's it. All I had in the council chair's report, the town manager report.
So some of these have been covered, but line striping and crosswalk contract that was updated and signed with the prior year's vendor. Staff was able to reach out to them and they offered to do it. They have already started in the downtown. They are prioritizing to meet what we put out. From the conversations, the hardest part is twice a year. All these companies that are doing line striping are hard pressed to get to every town once. They're not really gung ho on the second time. So the new Public Works Director and I have had some conversations. This is a top priority coming in. It's on the list. I will say that was on the consent calendar, and I would just take that Earl Labonte from New Hampshire with years of experience as a Public Works Assistant Director and Director in 3 communities has come to us, and we're very lucky to have him and his knowledge that he'll bring to the position. So we're looking forward to that. And again, we've had a lot of chats on the line striping, and he's already jumping in with ideas.
Say on that, it sounds like you ran a great process with your staff on that search. So thank you for that. I think that's so important that people feel like, for buy-in and things. So thank you for that.
Okay. So just an update, homelessness is always an issue in our region, something we always deal with, and you can contact me or the police department whenever you need. There are conversations, and with the opioid funds on the agenda tonight, I want to say that is a use that happens. The region's working on solidifying its approach. So I think we're waiting to see how best to integrate ourselves into that. Bangor, Brewer, those communities have a more significant issue with it, and we want to help them as best we can. Kind of waiting to see what some of their thoughts are and directions are. So we'll keep you posted as that comes on as well.
Councilor Marks has a question.
Yeah, can I just ask a question on if we're going to be hearing more again about homelessness and solutions and help and things that we could be doing in town that we might not be doing? I just would especially love to hear from staff before the winter months come about what a warming site option is in Orono. I know in the past when we've had homeless individuals, there was nowhere. And I know we're supposed to be encouraging folks to go to Bangor and access services, but the incident I remember, that individual was not willing to utilize services in Bangor and wanted to stay in Orono. And I remember being extremely concerned when we had temperatures falling to 40 below in the winter. And I would like us to have some plan as a town that when temperatures fall below a certain number, we open some site. I don't ever want to be the place where somebody dies on our street. So I would like to make that personal request. That can just be a request to council that we revisit the topic. But as we talk about homelessness, I'd like to talk about extreme temperatures and what we offer in those moments of extreme duress, although I understand that we don't offer, 24-hour shelters and things in Orono, but thank you.
Nope, no problem. So the next one's Union Street Boat Launch, an update on that project. So during the review, the planner took another look, met with the planning board. We want to follow the same rules a resident would, and this does require planning board site plan review. So that has been queued up. They had to get a design to them to get the formal review, and we didn't want to exempt ourselves. Some communities have done that, but our community puts the town on the same requirements as any developer or builder or homeowner. So that has held us up a little bit, but we are still looking for a late August, early September completion. But again, no guarantees. We got to get that done. That did require a formal drawing of what we're proposing. The planning board, we couldn't just do a sketch. So we're working on that.
Is that going to be the when's the next planning? Was it third week of July,
It's August.
August at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
And just to be, the process on that is, so I mean, I know council was involved in allocating funds for work to happen to design and all of that, but I might have missed it. We never saw what the design is, right? It's going to planning board, but this council has not.
You want to see it?
I
Yeah,
would
we'll
love to
get- yeah.
just see it. I'm curious, as we've had so many discussions about it, I understand that the planning board has the authority and we do not, but I'm just curious to see it.
We'll get it to you. When we make it public, we'll make it public. And
I
get it
might
all
not
up
have
to
had
you.
my mic
Yeah,
on, sorry
We
if
can do
that's
that.
the case.
Great. That's a good point, Sarah. Thank you.
Next one, just, part of my training and growth here as a manager is to attend some conferences. Main Town City Managers Conference is 8/13 to 8/15. I will be in attendance at that. I will be working while I'm there as well as taking trainings. And Mitch Stone will probably be joining me for part of it. I am not going to attend the International City Managers Association this year. Short version, first year in, I still feel like I got a lot. I want to get some of my feet better under me, but I really do want to share that it's one of my goals to make sure I don't miss a second year. Now that I'm back into the field, I didn't go last year. It was brand new with only a year and I'm not going again. I think eventually. It's Tampa, so you can make fun of me. I'm not going to Tampa. But yeah, I'm not going to Tampa, but we'll keep you posted. But that one, those dates are there. Gould's Landing dock update. They are going to be getting a new dock, but the dock was broke. A part got ordered. Coincidentally, there were some comments here within the community and the dock got repaired within days last week of that being notified. It was noticed over the 4th of July weekend. A wheel had come off. But we are still planning to replace the dock. There's some insurance paperwork and other things that had to go on. But Parks and Rec and Public Works / facilities are working on that. Thank you for the compliments on the Town of Orono's Local Treasure Summers raffle. That's a collaboration. That's a raffle. You'll see the boxes around town. That is it. That's Cody, is leading the charge. But it is a community development and economic development partnership. We're working with the local businesses to get it out. I think community policing probably assisted as well to take around the boxes. But if you look around, you see a little box, a little QR code. That's how we're promoting it primarily. Every business does know that if a person doesn't want to use the QR, they know how to get their information and get them entered. But we're hopeful that it can be done through a QR code only.
When is the drawing, Clint?
When?
Yeah, when? How many weeks do people have to get those?
Sixth.
Ah,
We're playing chess here, not checkers.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Saw that.
Didn't even ask the prizes.
yeah, I'm curious. What are they?
What are they? Three $500.
This sounds exciting. We need to know.
So that's the grand prize. There'll be three $500 gift card, like packets or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to work with the businesses that are involved and get gift cards, purchase gift cards and give those out to the winners. So there'll be three $500 winners. So.
Excellent.
So there's the raffle. Next one, community development as well. WABI TV's Discover Show, the Great Outdoors. They're coming here to film with us. We're using TIF marketing funds. It's in the budget every year. It had not been used in the past couple, just with different things going on. And I learned about this early on. We want to give it a shot. We're focusing on the great outdoors and kind of looking at the combination of the fact of the everything from the community growth of the Christmas lights and the holiday lights and the holiday tree, the pool, our trails, paddling, Caribou Bog Center. It's kind of just putting it all here that, Orono, we're right here in your backyard and come see what we've got. Not focusing anything towards businesses. There's just too many layers of which businesses we would or wouldn't, but we're going to promote the community as a whole. Definitely urge that people come here, visit, eat, recreate, attend the university, etc. So that's that one. And then staff barbecue planning. Since there's not another meeting till well after the staff meeting is tomorrow, we're going to formalize the date tomorrow, or I would have told it to you. We are looking into August. It will be a shutdown of a few hours, most likely from a noon till 2, although we are having a little bit of chatter about whether we should do a late day and just close at 3 and call it the end of the day. But I'm working with that to see what's better for the barbecue, and I think we might go to the latter of the two. But with schedules and shifts, we just want to make sure we're as fair as possible. So that's why we're taking it to the staff meeting tomorrow. And
We get invited to that, right?
so
We do, don't we?
well,
Last year?
I mean, the
Ooh.
appreciation we invite you to, the staff barbecue, we didn't know if it was, but we're
Okay.
gonna do the appreciation in December, definitely. But
Okay.
we'll let you.
Dan's angling.
No, I
angling for
don't, I'm
money.
not, I love Mo's bar, whatever I love it, but
Yep.
no, it's nice to be able to.
No,
Yeah, glad you're celebrating staff. They
Okay,
deserve
yes,
it.
I'm glad you're
Yeah,
celebrating.
Glad you're celebrating staff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And thank you, as you guys alluded to, it's not on here, but it has been a great first year. And it's been a learning process for sure, and there's a lot more to do, so I'm looking forward to it.
No, we've very much appreciated you having you be a part of our community, and very grateful for that. And okay, if that concludes your report, any public petitions? No public petitions. I have one future agenda item or question for council that I want to ask, but anybody have any?
Yeah, so the letter that I shared with you all, I'd love for us to set a time to discuss the request. It is a rather open-ended one from the Caring Community Cupboard, listing the sort of ways that Orono residents use this vital resource to get food. So I think they're open to anything the council might or might not be willing to do to support their efforts as they're facing some budget challenges as a result of some of the stuff that's happening federally. So I just would love for us to have a discussion, maybe that we can also wrap in, how we engage with the Orono food cupboard as well. I don't know. So just wanted to put that on the agenda at some point, because I waited to really push for us to have a discussion about this until after the budget season. And now that that's over, I think that it'd be good for us to talk through this.
Do you want to add it as an agenda item, or like an action item, and with a
Well,
maybe
and
a blank
an
space for?
I think maybe an agenda item to have discussion, and then perhaps any actions that we want to take, because they're not asking anything particular, but if there's something that we feel we might be able to do to support their efforts, given how many Orono residents use that resource, I think we could determine what that action might be there.
Okay.
I appreciate you bringing that forward. And I personally still like the idea of starting with a discussion versus coming with an order, but I do, it's definitely a great cause, Rob, and appreciate that you've done some legwork and are bringing this forward. So thanks.
Okay.
I have one question, Rob. I just wonder if it might be good to have the discussion at a time when someone who could be invited to come from that group and also from the Orono Health Association at the same time, because I think it would be important to consider both of those food banks together. I don't know how much they coordinate with each other.
Yeah.
I have a lot to learn, obviously, but I would just want us to put it on our agenda at a time when the folks who are involved and could answer questions might want to come. So could we reach out to them staff-wise or something to get that on a time when it's convenient? for
Yeah, I
the
mean, I
group?
I don't know what makes sense for you all. I mean, I can certainly get in touch with the Caring Community Cupboard folks. and Orono Health Association. I don't know if staff, what the best.
Follow up with you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We'll get you.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, and well, that makes sense, and happy to have a discussion first, if that's.
I just had one to
ahead.
add as well. We've got some dumpster sprawl going on downtown Orono, if people haven't seen it or not, but down in the parking lot, they're just kind of taking up like 8 parking spaces now. And in the past, there's been an approval of a gated area to create down there. And I think it's time that we start looking at that, knowing that staff is taxed and considering I am a downtown business, I don't mind volunteering for some reach out, or if there's some way that I can help with trying to get together, trying to pull people together, or even just finding out where we're at. I mean, I think there's been like 4 or 5 new dumpsters added, and it's now taken up, I think, 7 or 8 spaces, and it's significant. And I think it's, at this point, the individual businesses have to deal with their own waste removal, but it is imposing on our parking, and parking's important to everyone. So
Just to comment on that, I am working, well, staff is working on that issue right now. We had another request for more dumpsters, and went down and looked at it, and obviously there are a lot of dumpsters there and limited space, and trying to figure out how to make that work. And I've also reached out to Casella to kind of understand what other communities do, and how we can best tackle this so that we don't have 87 dumpsters and they sprawl across the back of the thing. So looking at options, and hope to have some answers here pretty quick. So
I will throw it out as a downtown business, and knowing most businesses, I'm happy, tap me if there's anything I can do to help reach out and bring people together on it.
will do. Thank you.
Board jokes, I'm just passing them by. We're getting, I have a serious item I wanted to raise, as part of the Orono Festival. We are doing outreach to businesses around being involved in the events and things like that. And I wanted to ask council's opinion about, I'm doing some of the outreach, and I wanted to ask council's opinion about whether it's appropriate for a councilor or the council chair to ask businesses for contributions to, say, the fireworks or some element. I'd like to have people's feed. I don't love asking people for money anyway. But at the same time, I wanted to get people's opinion. I also don't feel right. I'm a person who votes on people's licenses and stuff like that. I just wanted to get feedback from people about what they thought, truly.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, Dan, like, if you weren't doing that ask, who would be? Is it typically you're doing this so that it's staff who don't need to do this, who are being overworked already?
Yeah,
Or
like-
how did this get?
Well,
on your
MJ
plate?
does it, MJ does it for the Arts Fest. We have hired Mina to be a coordinator, who's a graduate student at UMaine. She's helping with volunteer coordination, things like that. So that could be something she helps with. We could ask, there's some people in town who do fundraising for a living. We could potentially ask on a pro rata share to do some, try and reach out. But I wanted to get people's feedback.
I'd want to think about that, because my initial reaction is, no, definitely do it. But you're right. We're voting on their
Yeah.
victuals license and stuff like that. So maybe that is dicey. I've done it for a long time with Little League, forever, but
Yeah.
there's no quid pro quo or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you're going around with like a club and making them
Yeah,
donate, that's different too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to think about that. Personally, I don't have an answer.
okay.
I think if possible, having somebody else be tapped to do it, probably just so you don't have to worry about the complication.
And I think maybe, Leo, it might be a little different than Little League, because this is asking for a town event, actually, not for so I don't know. It's an interesting question.
So it feels like, to Rob's point, if there's someone else who's got a good, Linda Doherty's helping me too with it, with some of the outreach, and it's just some of the directness that it takes sometimes to get,
Yeah.
And ask
What about the person that you've hired? Are they not comfortable with it, or because I think
it's the timing and how much time that, we didn't get You know, we don't have a ton of resources for this coordinator position, but it is something we could talk to her about. So I just assume go that route rather than, if there's
I think-
hesitancy, go that route rather than. What are you doing? No, Amanda's a no. Yeah. I like the way you laugh at me like I'm just, whatever, man. All right. Okay. That's good feedback then. We'll try and take that back to we'll have that discussion tomorrow in our workshop meeting. So thank you for that. I appreciate the chance to be serious with you from time to time. Any final public comment? Okay, none of the folks online want to be recognized. We take a motion to move an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6A regarding a personnel matter.
So moved.
Seconded. Are we coming back in for anything after this? Nope. Yep. So there'll be no more. This is good night, Orono. After this vote, all those in favor? Moving into executive session? So moved, it's unanimous.